What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul with Liberty Hill Comics, where I share my passion and over 40 years of experience comic book collecting, investing, and conservation with you. Today I'm going to continue the conservation on this copy of Avengers #1, the first appearance of the Avengers from November 1963 by Stan the Man Lee and Jack King Kirby. If you are a comic book collector, this book should require no introduction. This copy belongs to a friend of the channel, and we're conserving it for them. In episode 1, we did an assessment of the book and developed a game plan for the conservation process. And in episode 2, we did a dry clean of the exterior of the book, front and back cover. In episode 3, we disassembled the comic and dry cleaned the reverse or interior of the cover, but concluded that video with the discovery that some of the inks on the reverse were not well adhered to the cover at all. In fact, just a gentle wipe with a dry cotton round removed a significant amount of black ink from the interior. This led me to reevaluate our plan to remove the tide marks, water stains, and tanning from the cover with an aqueous bath in favor of something a bit less invasive. So, in episode 4, I reviewed the history of photobleaching of paper and the various aqueous solutions one can use to optimize the outcome while using blue LEDs, which techniques I recommend for conservation work, and demonstrated the specific method I use. In episode 5, I performed a bit more dry cleaning of some of the smeared black inks on the reverse and completed the archival tear seals on the interior of the cover with Tengujo paper and wheat paste. Follow the link in the upper right corner if you want to get caught up with any of those videos before watching this video. In today's video, we're going to review the result of the tear seals, trim the excess Tengujo paper from the cover, and reevaluate our plan for completing this book. But before we get into our main video, I want to remind everyone that we blew through our 800 subscriber goal and set a new goal of 1,000 subscribers. And in appreciation of subscribers new and old, I announced I'm giving away this copy of Star Wars #1 in CGC 7.5 with white pages. This is the first appearance of Luke, Leia, Vader, R2, 3PO, and a host of other characters, and was published 6 weeks before A New Hope opened in theaters in 1977. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and follow the link over to that video to comment there for a chance to win. Alright, let's get to work. You've seen me do this before. We have 3 spots of paper mending here. One of them's on a corner, so we'll actually have 4 places that we have to trim. I'm using very good lighting. I have a number 3 scalpel handle with a number 11 blade, and I have a transparent ruler, and I'm using a 10x magnification. And you really need all of these things to get a great result when you're trimming the excess Tengujo paper. I take my time, and you want to hold that ruler very precisely. You want to have a very sharp blade. You should really just be able to lightly drag the blade, and it should cut those fibers cleanly. If it starts to drag at all or fray those fibers, you know it's time for a new blade on your scalpel. I missed one little hair. Come back and get it. Here we go. Doing this so that you can get a good view is a little bit more challenging, so I need to sort of wrap the page into my lap a little bit here to make sure it doesn't get wrinkled or ripped on something. It would be terrible to have our cover rip at this point. We've done so much work. That little corner was hanging on by a thread. So especially now that I see the result, I'm really glad I decided to just prophylactically mend that corner. Here we are. It looks great. Now that we have the trimming done, before we have a closer look at the cover, let's talk about the drying and cold press we performed. You recall that we concluded episode 5 with drying the cover under a piece of repurposed granite with paper towels for blotting away the misted calcium hydroxide solution that we used for the paper mending. I'm happy to say this had an added bonus of drawing the last bit of tanning out of the cover by capillary action. It's subtle, especially under bright studio light, but if you look carefully, you can see the tanning that has been deposited on this paper towel. Here is a closer view, and you can clearly see this step removes some significant yellow deposits from the cover. Here is the current state of our cover. The obverse here really looks beautiful. Inks are bright, tanning is removed, staining is gone, couldn't be happier. On the reverse, we also have good preservation of inks. We have the tears repaired. We have staining dramatically diminished, if not gone. We have that ink bleed gone. And it really looks more uniform and brighter. However, we do have some ink bleed that we picked up during the drying process after the tear seals. Here is a picture of the cover after the blue LED calcium hydroxide treatments on the left, and on the right after paper mending under the light calcium hydroxide misting. It's subtle, but you can see it's just a little brighter and just a little more uniform in its whiteness and less mottled. However, it also has a tiny bit of ink bleed from the obverse, especially the red inks, that wasn't there before the mending, which is now just barely visible from the reverse here. The tear seals look phenomenal. They were all on white paper on the reverse and are practically invisible. They blend so well they are actually even difficult to feel. I couldn't be happier, and I'm really glad we decided to treat that fragile little corner piece so it stays with this book for the next 60 years, because it was hanging on by a thread. So, what is our next step? I'd like to address this red ink bleed before we reassemble this comic. This sort of ink bleed, common with red ink especially, is where the blue LED treatment really shines. You can treat these dry with great success and very minimal, if any, damage to paper fibers. For ink bleed treatment, I used the blue LED essentially exactly as laid out in comic book stain removal and whitening. 2 LEDs, about 9 inches from the page, for a total of 3 hours per day, up to 3 days as necessary. While the cover is receiving the blue LED treatment, it's almost time to reassemble this comic book, so I need to evaluate the original staples and see if they need any attention before we put them back in the book. Even though during our assessment we took note of rust stains in the paper at the centerfold and the next wrap in, these staples look in pretty good shape. I could use them as is, but I think I'll put them for a short dip in a product that will chemically de-rust them and restore the galvanizing and provide a natural looking patina. I'm all out of my favorite de-rusting solution, so I'm going to wrap the video up here while I order what I need and treat this ink bleed on the interior of this cover with blue LED. Next episode, I'll show you the staple chemical de-rusting process, and we should be able to reassemble the book and put it in the press. I sincerely appreciate you joining me today. We're in the home stretch with this conservation project, and it's turning out beautifully. Most of the materials I use today are available from Amazon in the affiliate links in the video description if you need any of them for your own conservation efforts. If you enjoyed this video, please take a few seconds to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, take care of one another.